Welcome everyone to Male Fuzz TV. I am Peter, that is Tara. We talk about TV shows here. The year is 2023 and the name of the show is Babylon 5. This is not a season or an episode number. This is a TV movie that released during season 5. In fact, when I was double checking the air dates just before I watched it, this aired like 3 days before the next episode. So episode 28 of season 5 aired like 3 days after this. This was like November 8th, and then that was like November 11th. So really weirdly close together, especially since they had some gaps around then. You'd think they would have put it in where there was less I don't know. Very odd decisions. But yeah, had no idea what to expect from this going in. Didn't know what the premise was, which is kind of similar to Third Space. I didn't really know what that was before I went into it either. So what we have here is an interesting switcheroo where last movie had Sheridan, Ivanova. This movie has neither of them, but this, or Delenn for that matter. This movie though does have Garibaldi, who wasn't in the last one. It does have Lockley, who I don't think was in the last one. It's like we've swapped most of the principal cast around.
Everyone gets a movie.
Everyone gets a movie.
But Zach's in both.
Well, you can't keep Zach down. He's too important to everything. That's why he's in both. Now, I think what I wasn't expecting is like almost right away as soon as we go to the station early on in this episode, it's basically confirmed this is set after the show. This is set in 2263. Sheridan and Delenn aren't there because they've already moved to Mimbar, so we get this standalone story that takes place after the ending, which is interesting. Barring any future scenes, obviously.
I guess I didn't realize that. I thought maybe they're just like on their way to Mimbar, not permanently, but just to like, I don't know, do a thing.
No,
then come back.
No, she said they were living there now, and then later on, someone actually said the year was 2263. So,
yes.
Yeah.
I always keep track of the days.
But to be fair, the show started in 2258. It was said at the start of every episode, and then it's just changed every season. Yeah, it's harder to tell this one in season 5 though, because like everyone's talking over each other during the opening. But for the first 4 seasons, it was very clear what year we were on any given episode. So yeah. Also, we got some oddly big names in this.
Yeah, I'll say.
We got
this was a surprise.
Ian McShane's in here, and then even bigger than that, I would argue, Martin Sheen too.
Oh yeah, totally.
Like, obviously, this was probably just before he started doing West Wing, so he's obviously not averse to doing TV, but it's just weird that he's on this random TV movie for another show.
It really is, yeah. Because he seems like too big of a name, unless, West Wing is what revitalized his career, which is, probably true, but...
Probably, yeah.
It's not like he didn't do prestige stuff before, and like... Well, I guess I don't know about his career after like the 80s, so maybe he did like start doing like I don't want to say trash TV, but
so this came out in 98. Let's have a look
sci-fi trash.
Let's have a look at his filmography and see what like 95
was there like a
90s.
downfall that he had.
Let's look at 95 to about 98 and see what the career is looking like around then.
Something post Wall Street, I guess.
I've never seen Wall Street. I didn't even know he was in that. I was in a lot of TV movies around this time.
TV movies were very popular in the 90s.
He was in the Spawn movie? I don't remember him being in that.
Yeah,
but,
no, I remember that.
I will take your word for it. Yeah, I guess he's in a lot of stuff that's kind of low-key around this time period. Yeah, I mean, we're probably right. West Wing probably did just kind of like give him a boost again. Made him a big deal. Oh, interesting. Anywho, so yeah, he's in here, and he's in here as a soul hunter.
So Hunter, what's funny is that his brother or cousin, I don't know how the Estevez and Sheen family works, but is in the episode of Mystery Science Theater called Soul Taker, where he plays the Soul Taker. It's Joe Estevez.
So you're offering this as some sort of cosmic like fate that's
Yeah.
that Tushin
I don't
slash
think this
Estevezes have been soul
I don't think
takers.
this is a coincidence at all.
It's a coincidence. Come on. Yeah. It's honestly, I do actually think it's really cool that this plot ends up being heavily about soul hunters when that was something that was introduced in season 1 and not really brought up too much afterwards. Really.
No, you kind of forget that you don't really forget the episode, but you kind of forget them. Like, there's this other race of aliens out there that they don't seem to get involved in anything.
Yeah, so it actually felt kind of cool to bring them back here for this standalone story. So that was neat. But yeah, he's a soul hunter, and as soon as they brought up soul hunters, I knew I was going to hear you do the thing.
You seem to be waiting for it.
I knew you were going to. Why resist? It's futile, as another show might say. Tara's TV's got a mind of its own.
A ghost just turned on my TV.
Well, speaking of ghosts, we kind of have ghosts in this episode.
I know. Ghost in the machine.
We got ghosts, we got sex holograms, we got
yeah,
all sorts of shenanigans. Honestly, my favorite part of the whole sex hologram thing was that ridiculous like suit with the lights on it that the guys have to wear to like feel the sex. I think my favorite part about it wasn't just that the strips of light that were going all around it, is that they actually connected to what was like essentially like a little fake heart right where the heart is. I thought that was
that's
pretty funny. I thought it was amusing.
Yeah, it's the Ready Player One suit, right?
Yeah, cutting edge.
Yes.
So yeah, but I mean, obviously this is a subplot that ends up being brought into the main plot later on because it's very separate for a good chunk of the movie. But
I didn't even realize that this future had holograms that were so realistic.
I guess they did.
I don't know that it's been brought up before.
I don't think it has.
Maybe like something from Garibaldi or whatever, talking about like taking vacation or just going to a hollow thing. I don't know, but it seems like something he would say if it was part of this universe.
I feel like there might have been like a hologram message like once, but yeah, it's definitely not something the show's like leaned into heavily or used that much. But I mean, don't get me wrong, this is all very believable. If holograms existed, you guarantee they would be used for sex. There is no doubt in my mind.
Be the first thing. That'd be the reason they're invented.
Probably. And a big part of the subplot is that this isn't really allowed on Babylon 5. The guy who set this up has kind of done it through some loopholes and being skeevy. And Lockley and Zach want to shut it down. Which I should probably mention here. They find out about this because Bridgeboy brings it to Lockley's attention. So we're introduced to the love bat in this movie.
I love that this movie has confirmed that we've been right about Bridgeboy the entirety of the time we've been talking about him.
Well, that he likes to be spanked, is that?
He's got a... Well, I mean, I'm no therapist, but I guess we can like analyze this a bit. He's got a bat that he uses for self-flagellation, and it speaks to him in a woman's voice that tells them he loves him.
That said, though, at the end of the episode when Lockley's reprogrammed it to say, "I hate you, you're pathetic," I thought maybe we'd like this more. Like he thinks,
definitely.
He thinks he wants it to say.
She didn't reprogram it. She just turned it to setting 2.
I mean, he claims he likes the positive, like messages, but I feel like he would enjoy the negative ones. I think that's what
he's associating the pain, the feeling of pain, with feeling of confidence and self-assurance.
Okay, so you know how later on we see that one of the guys in the hollow brothel, as they call it. I love how it's the hollow deck, but the hollow brothel.
Just call it what it is.
So it's funny.
It's the kind of Quark has on Deep Space Nine.
But he so there's a guy that comes out and we see that there's a hologram of Lockley, and we see that this guy's skeevy and he'll just accept photographs of people that you pick and he'll just do here's a hologram, right? And again, believable to me, makes sense. I don't think it would be allowed, but I get that people would be doing this sort of black market sense. But this was like the perfect opportunity for a cameo here, is to have Bridgeboy walk out of one of these rooms and just see Ivanova in the room behind him.
But he would be the one in lingerie, and she would just be in full regalia.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so yeah, I got a good chuckle through a lot of this plot. Because even later on when like Garibaldi and Zack see hologram Lockley, and they're sort of like caught off guard with it, I actually really did get some entertainment out of Lockley walking into the scene and seeing herself, and then turning to the others and like threatening to like punch the guy or whatever. Then yeah, the guy's like, "Oh, I'll sue if you hit me. I'll sue," and he gets carted off. I don't know. Her reaction to seeing herself, I thought, was quite funny.
Yeah, it was all right. It was hard not to be like, okay, like I know you got a hot lady to be in your show, but do you have to put her in lingerie in like the 6 episodes that she's in?
Yeah. The thought did occur to me early on that this is an excuse to have a lot of women rocking around in their underwear, but
not just that, but like someone in your show, an actress in your show that a lot of nerds are probably already like wanting to see in lingerie. But I mean, hey, if she wanted to do it, okay, but I don't know, it just feels kind of gross.
I mean, I think like I totally get it. But I think the whole idea,
it's a little bit like if they cast somebody who didn't look like her, like they wouldn't have done this, obviously.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right in that. But I do think that this idea that the souls from the soul plot are going to inhabit some holograms, right? That makes sense to me. And it also makes sense that this is exactly the sort of thing the holograms be used for. It all kind of works in terms of like
it does.
Believability.
I think it could have worked also where she just showed up in like her regular uniform. And then after the plot was all done, she's like, how did it have a holographic image of me? And then like the guy would have to admit that he had her image stored because she was popular or whatever. And that would have been a fine joke.
Yeah. But no, I get the cynicism. I do get the cynicism. Like there's an element to it that is clearly just there for fan service, and you know we're going to do this. But,
yeah, there's some fan service stuff, but I also just I don't know, like it's such a small group of like writers in this show, right? So it's just I don't know. It's gross. It's like if your coworker's like, you're just gonna come to work in lingerie today. I'd be like, what? No, that's not okay.
There's a weird bit of power that a writer kind of has in some ways when you think about it that way.
Yeah, writer, showrunner, director, stuff like that. Yeah.
But I did really like the guys in the light up suits, though. I thought that was really funny.
That was great.
It was just like, I mean, I think to their credit, they always played the guys who were going to this brothel for laughs. Like they were always a little bit funny in their sort of patheticness, which was generally entertaining. But yeah, anyway, so the main plot of the story is we've got this archaeologist played by Ian McShane, who, you know, he's excavating. There's a big opening sequence where he's excavating this place, and there's all these light up globes, and he's searching for immortality, is what he keeps saying. And he's the only one who makes it out alive. Everyone else is killed by whoever's guarding this place. And then he shows up at the station, and it turns out Garibaldi's there to meet him because Garibaldi's investigating all of these things that Elise's ex-husband was financing. He's like going through them one by one and saying, do we still want to support this, or do we cut this off? So here's here to meet him because he was funding him, so that's what he's there for. There's a fun little running gag, actually, that the station's been actually really quiet and peaceful because Sheridan and Garibaldi aren't there, and as soon as Garibaldi shows up, bad things start happening, and Lockley keeps sort of reacting to it. Honestly, Lockley probably gets more like in this movie than she's had in like most of the episodes she's been in. Because she actually gets to be the captain making the decisions. Like because Sheridan's not around, she's the authority figure making the choices and like solving the problems, so she instantly just gets a better spotlight in this episode.
Yeah, it was nice that we had a little introduction of like the pairing of her and Garibaldi in like the last episode too. And so, and if it follows up in here where she's like, hey, still sober?
Yeah, that honestly,
still sober.
That was nicely like that. I don't even think that was necessarily intentional. I'm not sure if they would have known exactly when this was going to air, but the fact that this aired like after that episode ended up making that little comment mean a lot more. Like if this had aired before that, or if it had I mean, that'd have been maybe a tease that they're going to find out soon if like she asked that question. But I think because it worked out this way, where you got her sort of like opening up to him last episode, and then this movie airs, and it's like, oh, that feels like a genuine sort of thing. She actually does give a shit, and it's like, oh, okay, that's nice. So, but yeah, so he meets the guy, he meets Ian McShane, and Ian McShane's blabbering on about why what he does is important. But effectively the plot is that he gets overtaken by the souls in the soul globe, and it turns out
soul globe.
That's not what they call it, that's what I just called it.
No, it's just funny. It's so close to snow globe.
I'm a poet with words, what can I say? But basically what we find out has happened is that, as we know from before, the soul hunters like come when someone important is going to die. Sometimes it's one person, sometimes it's a whole group of people, whatever. And they come and they sort of like trap their souls at the moment of death or just before death so that they can preserve them forever. But what's happened here instead, though, is that they got something wrong. Is that they mistakenly thought an entire race of beings were going to die, but instead, and this neatly fits into the mythology of the show, it was actually a race of beings that were about to ascend into that higher, like, non-physical form of being. So they were about to go to the next level of existence, and presumably quite happy about it. And these soul hunters show up and trap them all in a globe and never let them actually go to that next stage of evolution. That's actually, I like that in the sense that it's bringing in different parts of the show's mythology and throwing them together. That's actually really neat. It's like, okay, we've established this evolution thing and this ascending. We know that humans are eventually going to do it in 1,000,000 years. We know that other races have already done it. Ironheart on his own has already done it. And then we get the soul hunters.
He's ahead of schedule, yeah.
And we've got the soul hunters who maybe, well, they're obviously quite old and wise, maybe don't know about this side of things. So it's basically saying this is like a clerical error on their part where they just didn't understand that this wasn't death, and therefore here's the conflict. You've got these beings who are trapped in here, but they're actually not dead. They were robbed of their life when they weren't supposed to be by the soul hunters. And that's quite an interesting motivation. It's a good setup for the episode, which, I mean, ultimately it's a fun spooky episode with some ghost things happening and the fun, you know, sex hologram subplot, but I did like this setup.
It was pretty simple story, and it was pretty mild. And even the ghost stuff, like, there wasn't a lot of it. It was just like there was like one spooky scene, and then there's like the hordes of ghosts that you see going through a tunnel. It's kind of hard to make them out even at some point. Well, so I don't know, it's not that spooky.
I say spooky just in the sort of broad sense. I wasn't necessarily implying that there's a lot of, you know.
Well, otherwise, it's just a pretty simple story. Like, this could be like a 1-part episode, even like a 1-hour episode. And I mean, I liked this film. I thought it was good, but yeah, it's nothing more than like a basic episode, just done up a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean, I think it has obviously a focus on different characters, which is kind of nice. But, you know, I really like the scene where it's at the hologram place where this guy's getting ready to have his fantasy, and he's sitting there in the chair. This blonde lady in lingerie appears in front of him, and he's like, oh, he's rubbing his hands together like, oh, I better have my fantasy. I think it's his neighbor. I think he says something like, oh, I've been next door to you for ages, and I've been thinking about this. And then this male hologram shows up, and then effectively what happens in the scene is this is where the souls that have escaped the soul globe have possessed the holograms, and they start making out, and this guy's just left out. And I started laughing because I'm like, the guy is essentially being cucked by a hologram, and that's a little bit funny. No?
He was willing to go with the threesome. It's very open-minded of him.
Well, he was trying to talk himself into it, and then it got into that joke of like, oh, that one time at band camp, he maybe did something.
90s.
Yes. No, I think the general premise of the episode made for some interesting clashing of the mythology. You know, but you know,
yeah.
I think there are some weird things about the episode. Like, I think Ian McShane's in a lot of the first like 25 minutes, and then once the souls are starting to come out the globe, he's just kind of disappeared. And we see him again eventually. He's just kind of sitting there in a trance. It's like he's a character to a point, and then he just is not a character anymore.
I actually thought it was a bit disappointing what happens with this character because, I mean, he's right there in the beginning, in the opening scene and stuff. And like, oh, heck, look at that. It's Ian McShane, and he's young, but he's still got that big presence, you know? He's got that great voice, and he's an intense actor. And when he has like the scenes with Ivanova and Garibaldi, like, you know, he's a great actor, so he works well with them. He like elevates the scene.
What scenes with Ivanova did he have?
Lockley.
There you go.
The fake Ivanova. The false Ivanova.
Fake Ivanova.
With Lockley. I actually thought that he and Lockley kind of had some chemistry, that maybe that would come back later on. But it doesn't. Like, he just...
Oh, yeah, now that you mention it, yeah, there's that scene where they meet with Garibaldi and she's kind of actually genuinely interested in what he does. Because they bring up, like, they've got something that's not carbon date. Because carbon dating, like the rules of carbon dating changes in every planet because of the different, like, makeup of the planets. Mm-hmm. So he does this new system that's, like, equal to all planets. And, you know, it's all a bunch of, like, you know, techno jargon, mumbo jumbo, but... they seem into it, and there's a bit of chemistry, as if, oh, maybe this is like a potential love interest kind of thing. It never really comes up again.
Yeah, totally. Right. I mean, I definitely saw it on the screen, so I thought, okay, well, this is going to happen. This is going to connect to something later on. Like, even the last movie in Third Space, the one woman who seemed to be somewhat possessed by whatever the Cthulhu thing was. I can't remember the Lovecraftian thing was. I mean, even she was like sprinkled out and had more of a presence throughout the whole thing. This one's like, oh, now he just has the globe that he just has. It's just, he's just holding it for the rest of the film. Which is kind of disappointing because I thought like they really established him as like, he's going to be the main guy, the main villain, the main whatever for this. And, you know, because he's such a name, that would have been exciting.
I will say it did give like all the other characters a chance to because for the first like little bit he actually does feel like he's almost the main character of the episode, and it was kind of nice to actually transition to it being more Lockley, it being more Garibaldi, it being more Zach, and them having more prominent roles. But no, I think it's a fair complaint that it's kind of weird how he just kind of disappears from the episode after the first like half hour, and that's him gone until he's just sitting there towards the end when all the action. Mm-hmm. And we've barely even mentioned Martin Sheen, who plays... I mean, obviously we said he plays the Soul Hunter, but partway through the episode, he shows up to retrieve this stolen soul globe. That's what he's there for. I think what was interesting about his portrayal of the Soul Hunter is that... unlike the one we got in season 1, he's a lot more sympathetic when he starts to like learn that maybe they effed up and maybe they did something wrong to a group of people.
It actually happens very fast and without really any proof. He is on her side. Maybe he just believes her automatically because she saved his life, and so why would she lie about it? But I don't know. I thought his turn seemed kind of quick, but also. I thought it was weird that Martin Sheen was in this role.
Lockley saved his life in a scene, yeah. You left that part out.
Yeah, I guess. But yeah, I think they should have gone with somebody who is a more character actor or a no-name. I thought he was a bit too human in this.
Yeah.
Especially compared to the last one we got.
It's weird to say this because obviously Martin Sheen's a much more well-renowned actor than the guy playing the Soul Hunter back in like episode 2 of the whole show. But I actually preferred the guy's performance back in season 1 because
so did I. Yeah,
he was very Shakespearean and like theatrical.
He didn't seem like Martin Sheen didn't seem to watch that episode before he did this one.
No, but yeah, like there's that idea that he's just too Martin Sheen, and you can just hear Martin Sheen's voice, and it kind of takes you out of it a little bit. I did feel that a touch as well. Honestly, though, the bigger problem.
But still pretty crazy that they got him.
The bigger problem for me though was probably more that he did just seem too friendly. but I suppose like you could argue, oh, every Soul Hunter is different. You know, they're not all exactly
have personalities.
The same.
You know, they're just like us.
But I feel like that's just kind of like I don't know if this is a case of maybe creatively some decisions were made that, oh, we made that first one too harsh, so we're going to like make this one a bit more human. Or was it just a case of Martin Sheen wanted to play him this way, and he's too big of a star to go and tell him, hey, Martin, you're acting wrong.
Yeah. Think of yourself as like a knight, you know, because he's like assigned to protecting these souls and throughout and telling the stories of everybody that they've held on to, you know. He's got like a title. He should be more regal, or I don't know, more knight-like.
So, yeah, I mean that's pretty much the episode. Martin Sheen, Soul Hunter, he sacrifices himself effectively. Why are you laughing?
Soul Hunter.
I was just like I was starting a neutral sentence. There's no jokes to be found, and you just start giggling like in the second word. Like
I can't. It's the only way I hear it. Okay.
Anyway, he sacrifices himself to. Why are you still laughing?
Because you're avoiding saying it, which is making me think it. So I'm dead. Okay, I'm dead.
So, anyway, yeah, he sacrifices himself, and that solves everything, basically. The souls stop trying to blow up the station, which they're trying to do because all these Soul Hunter ships show up, and they're going to like take them back, and they don't want to be taken back, so their plan is to blow up the station, which will be like effectively like a nuke going off and take out all the ships. So
the Soul Hunter ships were ugly. I just want to throw that out there. They're ugly designed.
Were they any different than the one we saw in season 1?
I have no idea, but they look like spiders.
Okay. I have no comment.
Out there.
I have no comment on the Soul Hunter ships that were fighting.
They're ugly. They look like a spider pendant or something that like an old lady would have.
Okay. I have no comment. Yeah. So there's a lawyer character who comes and harasses Lockley a bit. Tries to, you know, he's the one representing the hollow sex guy. Which, by the way, both the lawyer and the guy running the hollow sex place, both of them are actors I recognize from various things. They're not big actors, but they're actors that pop up and stuff.
No, like sitcoms or something. Yeah.
Yeah, sitcoms or, yeah, Joel Brooks is a hollow sex guy. Like I've definitely seen him and stuff. I bet
he's good.
Yeah. Oh, he's in Deep Space Nine apparently. Oh, he's in Stir Crazy. I definitely most likely saw him in that at some point. That's the Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor movie.
I don't know that I've seen that film.
No? Okay. Well,
but I love both those people.
Well, it's a thing. It exists. Oh yeah, he's been on Dharma and Greg. He was on Sabrina in the 90s. He was on New Adventures of Superman. I was right. He had a New Adventures of Superman, like a Lois and Clark kind of vibe to him. And we already got Cat Grant, so why not some bit player?
Honestly, he had a New York vibe.
Oh sure, yeah, I can see it. I can see him being in like a.
This guy's definitely in NYPD Blue or something.
No. I was getting more. What I was gonna say is vibes of like you know, like one of those like seedy little sex places in New York in the 70s where you go in and like go into a booth and watch a pole dancer.
Mm.
He runs one of those places, or at least he did in the previous life. Yeah. Well, the Deuce, you know, obviously he's probably a lot older by the time the Deuce was being made for HBO, but he could have been on the Deuce. He has that vibe.
Definitely.
So yeah. And the lawyer, yeah, he's like harasses Lockley a bit, who she eventually gives the bat to at the end of the episode.
Yep. And I guess we know now how JMS feels about lawyers. The same as most people.
Yeah, most people feel that way about lawyers. I don't think that's specific to JMS.
Have you ever had to deal with a lawyer?
Fortunately, I have not, no.
Yeah. I have to deal with them through work sometimes.
Mm.
It's not fun.
Yeah. especially since because of what you do, which I won't reveal too much, but it's all going to be like insurance claim lawyers and shit like that, which I imagine is the most dry.
It's no, it's people who want to take advantage of insurance claims. It's like lawyers that go door to door and say, "Hey, did you have a fire around you nearby recently? Did you know you can sue your insurance or sue, but like file a claim and we can get you tens of thousands of dollars and we'll just take half." Those lawyers.
Also, actually, one thing we did gloss over, we should probably mention, is when Lockley saves the Soul Hunter by jumping in front of like this blast of energy that comes from one of the souls because they're in the electrical systems. She actually does technically die for a minute, and this is something that the souls use to speak to her. They actually have her go into like the little, it's basically like the bottled city effectively. So she dies technically for, you know, a few seconds, but in that few seconds, you know, because time works differently in soul form, she goes to like what's meant to be this world that they were taking from, and Franklin is like the person there to talk to her, and immediately says, "I'm not Franklin, I'm just like you think me."
Yeah, he contacts her. He pulls a contact.
Oh, okay, that's what you mean. Okay. I was like, wait, what are we talking about? No, he basically says, "You think you need a doctor right now, and this is the doctor that you think of." So that's why Franklin. Honestly, this just felt like there's no reason why Franklin should be on the station. How can we give him a scene? Oh, this is it. This was like,
you were on your way to
actor.
sick bay, but my dream world was closer. It's not the worst I've ever done. Come on. She really was on her way to sick bay.
Well, yeah, she was dying. She was literally dying. Oh, but yeah, so that's a whole big moment, and so but there's this effect where she's like falling through the floor. After she looks at her body, but when she ends up here, and then when she comes back out, she's like flying back up through all the floors. So I don't know. It felt worth mentioning. It was a decent enough little gimmicky effect for what it was, but
yeah.
And
I mean, what is the soul that's been transferred exactly here? So, like, I don't know. Seems to be like a real soul or something.
Yeah, obviously Garibaldi doesn't believe in souls. Some of the others do. I like that when the spooky thing happens with Zack, where he sees this sort of ghost, effectively, one of the souls. I like that he actually writes it off immediately as, "Oh, that's that hologram asshole trying to like mess with me." I was like, yeah, that's actually a very like logical thing to assume in that situation.
Yeah, plus he does have a vendetta against you.
Yes, he's very upset with you. Lockley does point out to him though that the holograms don't really beam that far from like their source, so it's
not
unlikely.
Without great power.
Yes, so but I mean that was basically the episode. It's much like Third Space. It was an enjoyable standalone episode. I think conceptually Third Space was a bit cooler, but I actually did really like how, because that was just like a Lovecraftian style plot. But what I like about this one is that it's smashing different things from Babylon 5 mythology together, namely the Soul Hunters with the idea of this evolution and them making this mistake. I actually think that's a really cool way to like bring those two different things together.
They're probably about the same, but I maybe like this one a little bit more than Third Space. Maybe because I just enjoyed the characters that we got, the pairing, and I think like most of the stuff that was going on I was enjoying more. Like I enjoyed the A and the B and the C stuff going on as far as plot.
Yeah. Okay.
More in this one, yeah.
But yeah, there you go. That is River of Souls, which means we just have 3 episodes of Babylon 5 to do.
Oh my god.
So we'll see you next week for Season 5, Episode 20. Let us know what you think of River of Souls in the comments below. Like, subscribe, ding the bell, all that stuff. Get us on the Twitters at mail_fuzz for channel updates. And of course, you can support all the content over at patreon.com/mailfuzztv. But that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching Babylon 5. Just don't give away the homeworld. Or accidentally entrap all of the souls of the home world.